No, this is wrong. What's going on here? 9340. There we go. Good morning.
Good morning. Is it just us today?
I'm concerned about that. I was just about to check my email and see if the wrong address had been put out. But I didn't. I checked it earlier. It didn't seem like that. But we shall see.
Well,
It's Palm Sunday. Everybody's out there, gathering their palms
exactly.
like good Unitarians should.
Exactly.
All right. Well,
Have you given me access to screen sharing?
absolutely. Let's see here. Make a co-host. There we go. The stalwart. Should turn some lights on in my studio here. All right. Let me stop sharing and make sure that you can share.
Okay. Yes, that looks good. Thank you. Excuse me.
I need to get some tea myself.
Oh, good.
Everybody's coming in today.
Good. I'm going to gather a couple more things. I'm going to turn off my video. I'll be back in a couple.
Okay, but you were able to share, right?
Yes, I was. Thank you, Dan.
Okay, so I'll share the preview screen then. All right. PowerPoint. All righty then. I will be right back myself.
Okay. Hey, Dan, are you there? Hi, Julie. I was
Good
just
morning.
wondering. Hi.
Good morning.
Hi. I wonder if there's a waiting room and we need to let people in. Hi, Barry.
Dan said he'd be right back, so I'm sure.
No, but nobody's coming. Where is everybody?
Maybe people feel like we don't have a need to lift up Women's History Month.
Yeah, but we do.
Oh, we do.
I don't think it's the topic. I went to my first in-person scheduled event, which was a tracking workshop in Ashfield. It was really fun. But
oh my gosh.
as I was driving there, I was like, wow, commuting. That's, like, wait a second, what happened to those 40 minutes that I thought I was going to get there in plenty of time? I was one of the last people there. I was like, oh yeah, that's what happens is you got to commute to places.
That must have felt wonderful.
It was so exciting to be with a little group of people with snowshoes tracking through the woods.
Oh, cool. And was there much snow on the ground at the time?
There was, yeah. There was lots of snow.
Wow.
And we didn't really see any great tracks. Like there's some squirrel tracks. It's like, oh, great. I know them. There's Dan. Do we have people in the waiting room, Dan?
There is no waiting room.
Oh, okay. So it's just us.
And we're live on YouTube, though, already.
Hello, good morning.
Dimmer for this daylight bulb.
Good morning.
On?
Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
A little bit. Your gain could be increased by 6 decibels.
6 dB, yeah. All right. Well, no, I can just turn up my speaker. All right, hang on just a minute. Let's see how I do that. How are you?
When you go to audio settings under mute, you can change it.
I'm looking at that right now. Thank you. Audio settings. Audio settings. Blah, 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 blah. Output volume.
We heard that. Blah, blah, blah.
Or microphone volume is what you
I'm seeing it. Input level.
Okay.
All right.
Hard to read.
Hi, Russ.
Hi. Could you
Oh, it's
close
Carolyn.
blinds behind you?
Me?
Yeah, there's a
There.
Is that better, Dan? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, that's better because there's a lot of light there behind you. I thought you were like ethereal or.
Dan, can you hear me now? Thank you. Good. Okay. Morning, everybody.
You're good, Marilyn.
Morning.
I'm so damn picky.
So we're here at 10:32 by my clock. I had one of those moments this morning where I realized that every clock in the house is at a different time. And one of them said it was the one I was using to get myself ready set was about 15 minutes behind.
Oh.
And so I kind of had that. So,
That's why commercial airplanes have 3 compasses.
Oh, really?
Makes
I didn't
sense.
know that.
Because then if they pick the 2 closest to each other and then they average that.
Really?
That's before GPS. But they still have 3 compasses.
I want to welcome my friend Mina from Chicago Theological Seminary, who's here with us again today. Hi, Mina. It's 9:30 in her world.
Yeah. So good morning. Hi.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us.
Sure. Yeah, it's my pleasure.
Shall we begin?
Yes, I'll mute you. If you can mute yourselves, it looks like everybody's gotten that. I will mute anybody who's not at the moment.
Wonderful. Let me sit myself a little more comfortably. There we are. Well, I want to wish everyone a happy Passover and a happy Palm Sunday and a happy Holi, which is the Hindu festival of colors. Have any of you ever been there or taken part in a festival of colors event? What a wild thing, right, Ron? Yeah. So I want to just call your attention to the fact that next Sunday, Dan Tinnen is going to lead a worship service talking about the humanist view on all of these holy days. That'll be something not to miss.
You mean Dan Tynan?
Say that again.
Dan Tynan.
Dan Tynan. Oh, thank you, Dan. I'm so sorry I mispronounced your name. After all this time, I've been saying it wrong all along. Dan Tynan. I'm Julie Payne Britton, and I have had the great gift of leading services here with All Souls and thus the Franklin County Association for the last little bit. I'm a psychotherapist locally. I'm also a seminarian at Chicago Theological Seminary. And I realized the other day that I'm on track to get my master's in divinity not until 2023, which still feels like a very long time from now, considering as I've been doing this for 5 years already. But it's the long, slow road. Nothing wrong with that. I want to know if anyone has any announcements to share before we jump into to worship. If so, you can unmute yourself and lift the announcement you've got.
I just like to make two little artsy announcements. One is Bernardston is sponsoring a pastel workshop this afternoon, or this morning actually, at 11:30. Okay. So that will be a punctual transition. And also the next Saturday, which would be the Saturday of Easter weekend, I'm going to do a watercolor party sort of thing. And we'll get that out to the different churches to invite folks to come just hang out and paint.
Will that be in person, Kate?
No, that will be Zoom.
Okay.
So I'll send a link out, I guess, at some point.
Okay, thank you. So I want to say that 11:30 art workshop will be punctual if we are punctual, and I'm not certain that's going to happen. You know me, I can go on. So if you are intending to attend that and it's 11:30, feel free to just hop off here and go in there. We won't take it personally. I always think that the services I prepare are going to be like 45 minutes. And then halfway through, I'm like, oh, I got to cut that. I got to cut that. I got to cut that. We're going to be here 2 hours. So, yeah, it's a balancing act. Well, let us begin. I am going to share my screen, and Rob Peck is going to lead us in opening words. Rob, let me get this big before you start. There. And Rob, if you are speaking, I cannot hear you.
Thanks for that. Most people would like me to stay on mute.
No.
So, as I was saying into the ether, our opening words are from Margaret Keeg. As surely as we belong to the universe, we belong together. We join here to transcend the isolated self, to reconnect, to know ourselves to be at home, here on earth, under the stars, linked with each other.
And I invite you to join me in what is called Visio Divina. Now, this is a hymn you may know the words to, and you're welcome to sing along if so. But this is a meditative act, to listen, to sit.
Okay, sorry about that. I almost had it any time.
Could you mute yourself again, please, Rob? Thank you. So this is an invitation to sit and let this music and these images wash over you. And if you are on the phone, the music enough will be enough. And if you have a chalice that you'd like to light, now is the time to do so. And if not, I invite you to share mine. Let us say together, fire of our ancestors, spark of those who will take our place, we call upon you to guide us in courage and truth this morning and every morning. May it be so. And for all of us, now is a time when, if you have joys and concerns to share, you are welcome to do so. So I invite you, if you do, to unmute yourself and share what you have to share, and we will hold it all amongst us.
I wouldn't be able to talk with it.
Does anybody have any? Nancy, I see you waving. Go ahead.
Jennifer.
Jennifer, thank you.
She's Nancy. I just wanted, I know in What's Up on Friday, it was talking about Rocky Parham had been for biopsies, and their family asked if we could please offer thoughts and prayers for them.
Yes.
Christine says they still don't know the results of the biopsies, and they're kind of blown away by this whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I see Rocky here amongst us.
Yay, Rocky.
Yay, Rocky. Yes. May we all circle Rocky and all those who are caring for Rocky and love Rocky to know the deep truth of our connectedness, to know the way we all tend to healing, and may there be strength and courage and patience and perseverance with all that is to come. Yeah. Anyone else have a joy or a concern to lift today? Pam.
Well, how can you beat the fact that the governor actually signed the climate bill?
Yay.
That's wonderful, Pam.
Shirley.
You did wonderful work.
And to be honest,
Yeah.
he had to, because otherwise the legislature would have passed it right over his veto, just like that. Done. Yay. So that's a good start, but it's only a start.
Mm-hmm. We give great thanks for Pam and all the warriors who have worked so hard to bring our earth, our climate, and the things that need to happen to the forefront, not only of our consciousness, but to our laws. Oh, I say a big yes to that. And may this be just the start. Marilyn, did you have a joy or a concern you'd like to lift?
Well, I lost my dog Tuesday.
Aww.
I put him down.
Aww.
And he was a wonderful, warm presence in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember all the goofy things he did as a golden retriever.
Mm-hmm.
And they are very endearing dogs.
Absolutely.
I remember him, Holly had cooked 2 Italian sausages, left them in her bedroom. Well, obviously he came up, he ate one, he put the other one in his mouth, letting it hang about 4 inches down, and came down to show us. Because that's what Goldens do. They show their toys and their food. So we had to show, wow, this is a great, this is a great thing I did. Look at me. So he's going to be very, very much missed, very much.
Oh, Marilyn. What was his name?
Winnie, he was a boy, Winnie the Pooh.
Winnie.
That's what they named him, the kids did. Winnie the Pooch. Winnie the Pooch.
He's joined us in worship services several occasions, so we've seen him. And so we feel that loss right with you. We give great thanks for the life of Winnie and all of Winnie's antics. And we know that's he lives a big hole and a legacy of love and a big hole. So we'll be holding you in the days to come.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I'd like to lift all of those who are dealing with hate. May the wave of violence and hate towards Asian people and Asian Americans stop now and have no more. May that be so. I'd also like to lift all of those who are going to be going through hard times now in around George Floyd's death, that it will be brought fresh and new. May there be some measure of justice. And I'd like to give thanks for Western Mass. I'm newly back as of last night after a month away. And it's so wonderful to return to these hills, these trees, even this gray light. This is such a beautiful place where we live. So I want to lift Western Massachusetts.
I'd like to offer a joy for the weather, and that the ice in the pond has finally melted, and that my wife got her first COVID shot on Thursday.
Oh, yes. Well, we give great thanks for springing. I heard the spring peepers last night. And we also lift and give thanks for COVID vaccinations and the fact that Dan's wife could get her first shot. Sandra?
I'd like to lift up Joe Biden for sending vaccines out to other countries. That makes me feel good about my country again.
Yes.
And I'd also like to lift up all the warriors in the Senate who are going to defend our voting rights and preserve our democracy. This is a critical, critical time. And I just bow to their courage and clarity and pray for their success.
Yes, absolutely. We lift and hold Joe Biden and all of the world leaders who think cooperatively and collaboratively and have an ethic around sharing and boosting all people up. May that be a tide that sweeps over the world even more so. And may there be a moment now where voting rights turns once more towards equality and justice.
I'd like to share one more joy. Say an unexpected one. I was walking in the Green River Cemetery the other day, just walking, and saw this one headstone completely covered by these huge branches that had come down over it. And I got in there and I broke up as many of them as I could and kind of cleared it out and took some pictures and put them on this Facebook group called "If You Grew Up Around Greenfield, Mass, You Remember ... And this grave isn't anybody that I know, but so many people responded to this so well, wanting to help or just thanking me, which I wasn't looking for, that, and I'm still getting some responses, that it feels good that there's a recognition and caring for remembering people who've been here before, even if they weren't famous. And so that's it.
Thank you, Russ. Yes, so we lift Russ and all the other unsung heroes who do good in the world, not for recognition or acknowledgement, but because that's what the source calls them to do. We give thanks for that. Will you join me in prayer or reflection as we roll all of this up together and we send this to the source of all that is? May the prayers and the reflections and the meditations of our hearts and the songs of our lips, may all that's been lifted here be with us and be beyond us now in all the days to come. Blessed be. And now I offer a story for all ages. I'm not sure if we have any youth here today, but this is a story for all of our ages. Let me share my screen, and I thank you to Dan for the reminder to share the sound of my screen as well. Okay. Now,
as part of an experiment to explore the human mind, we asked 22 people to solve the same riddle and recorded their responses. Feel free to participate also. Are you ready?
The riddle. A father is about to bring his son to a job interview, applying for a position at a large stockbrokers company in the city. Just as they arrive at the company's parking lot, the son's phone rings. He looks at his father, who says, "Go ahead, answer it." The caller is the trading company CEO, who says, "Good luck, son, you've got this." The son ends the call and once again looks at his father, who is still next to him in their car. How is this possible?
He gets a call from the CEO, but it says,
"Good luck, son."
But he was next to him.
So it's not the father.
I think it was probably an audio recording of his father.
Maybe he made a demo tape.
Like he has two fathers?
This is a hard one.
Maybe it's a word joke, like it's the grandfather of the son.
No, I think his name is Son.
I don't know.
Maybe it's just like an old man, you know, calling a younger guy son.
I have no idea.
The answer. It's his mother.
Oh, that's so stupid. Yes, of course.
I should have thought of that, yes.
The CEO is a woman.
so I'm biased in a sense. Is this about diversity and inclusion?
That's really mind-blowing, actually.
So I always thought that I'm not very sexist. But in spite of that, I think these subconscious biases are there in everyone's mind.
How much bias I still have in terms of thinking that the CEO needs to be a man.
Yeah, I definitely was picturing a man.
They identify with males more than females these days.
Why can't women also be CEOs or doctors or, right?
When I think about a CEO or someone that's high positioned within a company, I mostly think of men.
And it's a shame, I think.
And that's so weird, because I'm a CEO, and I'm a woman.
And I want to be a CEO. Why didn't I think about that? Crap.
I believe women can absolutely be CEOs.
And that's definitely something that we should work on, especially when you're saying that so many people have been told this riddle and most people haven't gotten it.
Women make great CEOs and great leaders as well. And yet only 5% of Fortune 500 CEOs are women. Let's change our mindset.
Did you get it? Let's counterbalance that. This is a video put out by HRC. There's a little bit of HRC promotion at the end. You can ignore that.
Think about how you would like the world to be for your daughters and granddaughters.
You all ready to make a ruckus?
But there is something different about tonight. There is something special about tonight. I, Barbara Jordan, am a keynote speaker.
Andrea Jenkins made history as the first out black trans woman elected to public office.
And Davids is Kansas's first openly gay female member of Congress.
I feel like we're finally moving forward. And it's just the beginning. I mean, never backward, only forward.
You don't have to remember to go out and get anyone flowers. You just have to remember to go out and fight for equal pay for women in the workplace.
Equal pay! Equal pay!
The fact that it includes both men and women players is due in large part to the work of tennis champion, trailblazer Billie Jean King.
The things that make us different, those are our superpowers. Every day when you walk out the door, put on your imaginary cape and go out there and conquer the world, because the world would not be as beautiful as it is if we weren't in it.
maintain the momentum of the movement so that we can also break some more chains and tear down some more walls.
And now let us sing. And friends, I have to tell you how much I love this video. It's perfect in its imperfections, and it's got a horn section.
Now let us sing, 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 sing. Now let us sing, 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 sing. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Now let us sing to the power of the faith within. Now let us sing, 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 sing. Now let us sing, 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 sing. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Now let us sing to the power of the hope within. Now let us sing, 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 sing. Now let us sing, sing, sing. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Let us sing to the power of the love within. Now let us sing, 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 sing. Now let us sing, sing, sing. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Now let us sing to the power of the joy
I mean, seriously, how can that not make you feel a little bit of joy? So this is a time that if there are any youth present, it could be the time to go out into breakout rooms. I don't think, Dan, do we have any here today?
No, I don't believe we do.
Okay, so we will move right into a time where we lift some of the women in our own personal lives and hearts. And so I'm going to invite Rob to begin, and I'm going to share the screen so that you can see what I see.
So thanks for giving me a chance to talk about my mom, Julie. The woman on the left is a very young picture of my mother. The picture on the right is my mom when she was 67. In that year, I went to visit my parents, ostensibly to give support to my dad, who'd had a minor operation. The painkillers put him to bed early. I sat at the kitchen table with my mom, and I shared with her how sad I was that my, at the time, wife was so unwilling to let her get to know her own granddaughter. And I talked about all the ways that my mom's music and art and things would have been so much fun for my then young daughter to connect with, and how upset I was about it. And I expected my mom to be on my side. And I was very surprised that after listening to me very deeply, didn't say a word, she said that, you know, she knows I love her, but that the woman who's my wife needs to be first in my life. And if it meant that there had to be patience and she'd have to wait a while before she could get to know her granddaughter, that was all right. She could wait. And we talked long into the night, after midnight, believe it or not. And, the next morning she gave me a hug, told me I loved her. I told her I loved her back. And a week later, she died. Mm. And I feel profoundly blessed that we had that visit, that time together. I feel like there's no unfinished business. And in a weird way, I got a chance to say everything I needed to say to her. Wow. My mom's parting gift to me came at her funeral. The night before, I was just so sad. I cried and cried, and I got afraid. As a man, I've been taught you don't cry, it's weakness. I was afraid I'd cry when I gave the eulogy. I was just afraid. And somehow, in some mysterious way, it was like her presence came into the room, and she told me that I could cry as deeply as I wanted, and that I would go into a deep pool of grief, but that I would not drown. If I really cried with my heart, it was almost like my body would grow gills and I would be able to breathe underwater in the grief. And ever since, when there's been really awful things and I've had to really risk crying to the very depths of my being, I think of my mom. I go into that pool of grief and I trust that I'll somehow grow gills and be able to breathe underwater. So thank you, Judith Ellen Steinberg Peck.
Well, thank you for sharing her story, your story. What a beautiful and powerful image. Thank you, Rob. And now I invite Gary to share.
Thank you. This is a poster of Marlene Montgomery, whom I met back in the mid-70s. In addition to the groups named here on the poster, which you can't really see, which were either led by or emerged out of her work in her, quote, school, quote, performing group, Quadrivium. She was a major influencer in the early works of many groups, the early Jack Langstaff and the early Revel, best known for the Christmas Revels. She worked at the Boston Camerata, Trapezoid, a folk group in Virginia, and many, many more. I grew up with choral music and sung in choruses, performing classical music, masses, operas, oratorios, etc. for most of my life from grade school on up, including summer camp. I happened to see Quadrivium perform at WGBH's studio, public radio in Boston, on Robert J. Lurtzman, and was immediately entranced by their spirit, joy, and level of musicality. I heard them a few more times on the radio. Today, I think it was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I just knew I had heard of it at the Isabella Stewart Museum in Boston and somehow joined them. Mind you, I had no idea what that meant. I was now living in a suburb outside the city, so I traveled in, went up to her at the end of the spectacular performance, and point blank said, "How do I join you?" I spent a few years traveling into Somerville and then Lexington, at least 4 nights a week, taking classes with her and the other folks, and soon after starting was invited to join the performing group of Quadrivium. She inspired us to inhabit the music. Speaking of inspiring, and the root of the word, she constantly talked about breath being the root of everything. The first thing we ever did in every class, every lesson, virtually every experience with her was to breathe. I mean, really breathe. We learned how the breath works and underlies everything we did. She taught us to tune to each other and our instruments in a way I've rarely experienced elsewhere. I've never been able to experience music, either as a listener or performer, the same since. That experience also spoiled me. I wasn't able to feel comfortable participating in other groups for over 15 years after I moved out to Western Mass. My expectations were so high, I would always find myself disappointed in what it felt like mundaneness, even if they were really good. There was just a level of, I might call it spiritual now, although I doubt she would attach such a label to it, of integration with our lives I hadn't experienced before. I've since joined other groups and truly enjoy them, and I still hark back to her teachings and know that my experience, whatever I may be doing, has been permanently transformed by my time with her. Thank you, Marlene.
Well, and thank you for sharing her with us, Gary. She sounds so powerful, and that sounds like such a rich and beautiful experience. And the reminder to just breathe, and inhabit. That's a powerful teaching. Thank you. And I invite Kate Mason to share.
Hi. So she took us in. In 1984, Jean Jackson took us in. I was a new RN with no job and a junky car to move our little family from Ithaca to Newton. Tamarack was 9 and Corey was 6. The move was for better job opportunities. Jean's son, Stanley, had rented a room from me as a Cornell student. He seemed to not only love his mom, but respect and admire her, which seemed notable for a young fellow. Jean owned an old, broken-down 3-story house in Newton Highlands and had been renting out rooms since her 3 sons were young. That summer in 1984, Jean was at the Women's Peace Encampment in Seneca Falls. I was a camp nurse on the Cape, but was determined that I would move before school started. But I couldn't get in touch with Jean to ask her about living with her. She didn't really know anything about this plan. Messages left on her home phone went unreceived because, of course, no cell phones back then. Finally, in mid-August, she called me back at the camp and said she was good with the idea and I could move in and we could figure out the arrangements going forward. She offered a home for a very comfortable rent for 3 or so years while I got on my feet. Jean is an activist, a nurse, and very kind-hearted. She's quirky and loves to keep tabs on everything. She can tell a story, go down so many rabbit holes, you better be sitting down. She loves recycling, which means her home always has piles and piles of sorted stuff that she came across that someone will want someday, and piles of newspapers she plans to read. Now she's 91, lives alone in that creaky, leaky old house in the center of Newton Highlands. Her son, Philip, and family moved back to town to be near her. Altogether, a delightfully remarkable woman who took me in when I was in need.
Thank you for sharing her with us, Kate. That's such a powerful story. And someday we'll have to talk about Ithaca. Well, I want to lift up for a moment Maya Angelou.
Oh, I am grateful to have been loved and to be loved now and to be able to love, because that liberates. Love liberates. It doesn't just hold. That's ego. Love liberates. When my son was born, I was 17. My mother had a huge house, 14-room house. At 17, I went to her and said, I'm leaving. She asked me, you're leaving my house? And she had live-in help. I said, yes, I've found a job and I've got a room with cooking privileges down the hall, and the landlady will be the babysitter. She asked me, you're leaving my house? I said, yes, ma'am. And you're taking the baby? I said, yes. She said, all right, remember this. When you step over my door sill, you've been raised. You know the difference between right and wrong. Do right. Don't let anybody raise you and make you change. And remember this, you can always come home. I went home every time life slammed me down and made me call it uncle. I went home with my baby. My mother never once acted as I told you so. She said, oh, baby's home. Oh, my darling, Mom's gonna cook you something. Mother's gonna make this for you. Love. She liberated me to life. She continued to do that. When my son may have been 5 years old, my mother would pick him up all the time and feed him. And I went to her once a month, and she would cook for me. So one day I went to her house, and she'd cooked red rice, which I loved. After we finished eating, we walked down the hill, and she started to cross the street. She said, wait a minute, baby. I was 22 years old. She said, wait a minute, baby. You know, I think you're the greatest woman I've ever met. She said, Mary McLeod Bethune, Eleanor Roosevelt, and my mother, you're in that category. Then she said, give me a kiss. I gave her a kiss, and I got onto the streetcar. I can remember the way the sun fell on the slats of the wooden seats. I sat there and I thought about her. I thought, suppose she's right. She's intelligent. And she says she's too mean to lie. So suppose I am going to be somebody. She released me. She freed me to say I may have something in me that would be of value. Maybe not just to me. You see? That's love.
And this is my ma, Tony Lee Thomas. She was diagnosed with a very rare kind of cancer when she was 37, and she wasn't expected to live, but her perseverance and grit and her sense that she was needed carried her through for another 17 years. She was one of the founding members of Urban League Hartford. She was part of the Peace Train, which put the art back in Hartford, as they say. She was a third wave feminist and used to host feminist consciousness raising groups in our living room, including a notable one where women were invited to bring a mirror. Some of you will know what I mean. I remember sitting on the stairwell listening to the gales of laughter. And for all that she was, she never felt loved. She had a hole in her heart that was left over from when she was young. And she tried to fill that by doing good work. And she tried to fill that with, she was a little boy crazy. But she never really felt loved. But what she did is she rolled out love and poured it on me and my brother. And I received in my bones the sure knowledge that I'm loved. So she broke that chain. She broke it. So what she gave me not only is a pathway of modeling grit and persistence, but also love. No, I wanted to show you her picture and say, thank you, Ma. We've lifted so many powerful women this morning. Women who inspire, women who lead, women who change the world. And here among us today are so many women who've dedicated themselves and their lives to doing good in the world, to making change for the better over and over again. So for a moment, I invite you just to look, or if your screen's not on gallery view, to put it there for a second and look around at the faces of the women who are here and to say, huzzah. Yes, we give thanks for the women in our community. I tried to find a sound effect of people cheering to play right now, and I fell down the internet rabbit hole. I think I lost 3 hours of my life trying to find just the right sound effect. Then I realized, Julie, what are you doing? So we do it ourselves and say, thank you. We stand on the shoulders of those who come before us, and we widen the way for those who come after us. All of us do, not just women. As a lesbian who grew up in the 70s and 80s, but didn't come out into the 90s, I think about how hard it was for those before me. I think about my mom's friend, GJ, who was a lawyer, who had men's suits tailored to fit her large frame back in the 1970s. She never officially came out. She had a female partner and a lot of cats. She filled some of the stereotypes, but she never said those words. She never named it. When I was struggling in the early days of my own coming out, I used to think about her and feel emboldened. I stand on her shoulders. And I think about how much changed for lesbian and bi and queer and trans women in my lifetime. I never would have predicted some of the gains that we've achieved. And I think about the youth minister of the UCC, the Congregational Church of my childhood. Kathy Ellenwood was her name. She wanted to be associate minister of the wider church, which was a big stone church on Asylum Avenue in Hartford. It had hundreds of people who came every Sunday, but she was passed over for the job because she was a woman. That was the only reason. Incidentally, that is the moment my mom pulled us out of the church and we became Unitarian Universalists. But now, in all of the progressive mainline faith traditions, women are rabbis and head pastors and associate pastors and whatever else women want to be. The glass ceiling is not completely shattered, but the sky is more open. Girls growing up now have options like never before. That gives me so much hope, doesn't it you? And that's what we want. That's what we've always wanted since time began. We want our children and our grandchildren, everybody's children and grandchildren, and all the generations that follow to have more resources, more successes, and easier time than we did. Standing in this web of creation with an eye towards the bending arc of the universe, we are called to ask ourselves, what will we do with our one wild and precious life, as Mary Oliver would say, so that those who come after us have more love that liberates? How do we honor those who shaped us and also do our part for those who follow? There are a lot of practical answers to this question: reduce, reuse, recycle, challenge oppression and white supremacy in ourselves and our communities. If we can afford it, donate our COVID stimulus checks to those with fewer resources. I'm sure we could generate a big list, but I'll tell you what I am curious about is this. What are your spiritual or religious marching orders? What do you say to yourself when you have a decision to make? What are your operating principles? Your mantra, the compass that points to true north. You know I love a good metaphor. Let me give you an example. My friend Marjorie Reed, some of you might know her. She's 93, or maybe she might be 94. She taught herself how to quilt when she's 80, and now she's famous for her quilts. She donates them, and they're often the top prize at raffles. She worked at Trap Rock Center for Peace and Justice back when it was still a top woman hill. When she was young, she spotted an old needlepoint sampler hanging on the wall in one of her family members' house, and it read, and I'm paraphrasing, "Be kind. Be kind." She talks about making a commitment on that night so many years ago to kindness, to treating people with kindness. And she does. Kindness is at the core of her life. And if you know her, you know that. What is your operating principle? How do you craft your life? In the days leading up today, I've been thinking about what words I say to myself to honor those whose shoulders I stand on and those who will stand on my shoulders. And there's several I use. And you know, I am a theist and a seminary student, so you'll notice a theme. Be a vessel. That's one. From the book of Micah, do justice, love kindness, walk humbly. From the New Testament, not my will, but yours, except that I always screw it up and I say, not your will, God, but mine. And then I say, wait a minute, but that's the problem. But perhaps the strongest and the clearest set of marching orders I carry are just this: love, love. Help people feel loved. Help people remember that they are a child of the universe, a child of God, which is my language. And give myself that love too. That's what I try to do. I don't always get there. If you'd been with me in the last week, you'd have said I was a vessel for stress and anxiety, not love. It's been a rough week, but that's all right. That's real. None of us are our best selves all the time. When we get clear about our compass, it's easier to chart a different course when we're lost at sea. You know, I do love them, but I'm kind of cringing over that one. But how do you craft your life? I invite you to take a moment now and to think about this, to think about what is your life's mantra, your operating instructions, your compass. And when you've got one, I want you to give a thumbs up so I can see we're all there. Okay, cool. So we're going to try a little Zoom experiment. In a minute, I want you to type your saying into the chat function of Zoom, but do not press send. We'll do that all together in a second. So take a moment and type that into your Zoom box. Don't press send, but when you're ready, give me another thumbs up. Okay, and now, when I count to 3, we're going to press send. 1, 2, 3. Ah, that's so cool. That is so cool. So for those of you who might be on the phone, let me read some of these. Do no harm. Love, be kind. The little is big. Persistent equanimity, help others to belong, offer balance, compassion, integrity. Be kind and spread love. To address speciesism and bring all species to be regarded as equal. I'm okay, you're okay, an old nugget. Gratefully channel and generously contribute. Find letters dropped in the street from God. Make this world a better place. Goddess, make me an instrument of thy peace. Those are so powerful and so beautiful. I'm kind of glad it worked. It was like watching water, right? Roll down. In the days and the weeks to come, I want to invite you to sit with your saying, to meditate upon it, to journal about it, to make art about it, and maybe even dream about it. To notice when and in what circumstances it's easy to live into, and in what circumstances it is not. I invite you to breathe into that not space so that the next time it comes around, your compass might help you glimpse the North Star. I want to notice that it's 11:28, and if you're going to the Bernardston Art Workshop, now is an opportunity to step off this and step onto there. We, those who stay, have about another 8 minutes to go. And I want to include all of those 8 minutes because there's there's something really special that I want to share with you. But feel free to go make some art, maybe with that saying, if that's on your agenda. Okay. So I found this poem. I heard it, and I felt like it sent a lightning bolt down my spine. I feel like it epitomized all of what I am talking about here today. And so I want to share it with you. It is called Facts of Life. And it is by, I don't think I'll say his name right, Pedrig Otuoma. Yeah, I definitely didn't say that right.
That you were born and you will die. That you will sometimes love enough and sometimes not. That you will lie, if only to yourself. That you will get tired. That you will learn most from the situations you did not choose. That there will be some things that move you more than you can say. That you will live. That you must be loved. That you will avoid questions most urgently in need of your attention. That you began as the fusion of a sperm and an egg of two people who once were strangers and may well still be. That life isn't fair. That life is sometimes good and sometimes even better than good. That life is often not so good. That life is real. And if you can survive it, well, survive it well, with love and art and meaning given where meaning's scarce. That you will learn to live with regret. That you will learn to live with respect. That the structures that constrict you may not be permanently constricting. That you will probably be okay. That you must accept change before you die, but you'll die anyway. So you might as well live. And you might as well love. You might as well love. You might as well love.
And so, my friends, that's it. We might as well love. We might as well live, and we might as well love. And in so doing, we honor all of those who came before us, and we honor all of those who will come after us. May it be so. And I invite you to join me in singing and listening to Holly Near sing, I Am Willing.
I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us, so lift me up to the light of change. There is a hurting in my family, and there is sorrow in my town. There is a panic all across the nation, and there is wailing the whole world round. But I am open and I am willing, for it dishonors those who go before us. So lift me up to the light of
Friends, may you let go of fear and write, speak, and live the words that are most deeply true and most truly yours. And may you go forth with hope and love to be love and hope in the world. May it be so. Amen. And one last little gift. Friends, doesn't that just lift you up? This ends our service together today. So I invite you to go now in peace and in power.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
I'd like to ask